It's Wednesday, the 25th of September, 2024. Welcome to the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 stories, 5 minutes. Let's get cracking. Story number 1, the Reserve Bank has left interest rates on hold, meaning home loan and other lending rates will remain around 12-year highs. And the bank has provided little optimism about rates actually falling anytime soon.
The Reserve Bank board met over the past couple of days, and in short, they know the economy is slowing, they know people are hurting, but there are still inflationary pressures, primarily from more people coming into the country, particularly students and tourists, and also from a tight labour market. That means anyone who wants a job can pretty much get one, and that's putting inflationary pressure into the economy. There was no talk of rate cuts in the official announcement, and a hint about rate rises if necessary. But Governor Michelle Bullock, speaking at a press conference, said there was no explicit discussion about lifting rates in the board meeting. The bank said underlying inflation, not the headline rate, is the most indicative of inflation momentum, and at 3.9%, it is too high. The Reserve Bank doesn't see inflation returning sustainably till target until 2026. Read between the lines, no rate cut anytime soon.
What about the fact that other economies are cutting rates around the world? Does this factor into discussions?
What Governor Bullock said was that other economies were different to Australia. Many countries' official interest rates went up further than Australia's, and so the starting point for rate cuts is higher. For example, the Aussie benchmark is 4.35%. The US benchmark, after last week's 50 basis point cut, is 5% above ours. Same deal in the UK. While the Reserve Bank's interested in what's happening overseas, particularly how it impacts the exchange rate, ultimately it comes down to what the Reserve Bank thinks about the local outlook. Ms. Bullock was asked about the political furor surrounding the central bank's board. Played a straight bat to that one. Same deal about the ACCC allegations on Woolies and Coles.
Sean, story number 2, the federal government has called on Australians in Lebanon to leave, with Foreign Minister Penny Wong saying she's deeply concerned about the dramatic escalation in tensions in the Middle East.
Senator Wong called for an end to the hostilities and urged Australians and dual nationals in Lebanon to leave the country while they can and while commercial air flights are still entering Lebanon. The crisis is at tipping point after a wave of Israeli airstrikes yesterday morning killed nearly 500 people and wounded more than 1,600 in the deadliest day of conflict since the 2006 Israel-Hezbollah war. The Israeli Defense Force launched more than 1,600 strikes using cruise missiles, short-range rockets and drones. It triggered chaos in Lebanon. Highways out of cities were jammed with cars as families desperately tried to escape the devastation across southern Lebanon. Israel claims it has evidence of Hezbollah weapons being hidden inside Lebanese homes, prompting the attack.
Back home now for story number 3 from Canberra, the Prime Minister Anthony Albanese says it's no wonder people are angry at Coles and Woolworths and says they have a right to be.
He said customers who see a sign saying a product is on special expects it to be cheaper, not more expensive. The ACCC has alleged that Woolies and Coles misled customers on more than 200 products each by upping prices and then, after a short period of time, reducing them by a lesser amount and claiming they were discounted. He said the supermarkets will receive a bit more than a slap on the wrist if the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission lawsuit is successful. ACCC Chair Jan Koss-Gadleet said the regulator will be seeking significant penalties.
Story number 4, the fallout from the PwC tax scandal continues, with revenue for the firm down $820 million in the year to June.
It's the worst slump on record, and total revenue last financial year came in at $2.35 billion. PwC is now in third place in revenue terms, behind Deloitte Australia and EY Australia, a fall from grace for the one-time market leader and market darling for that matter. PwC's profit fell by 24% last financial year. Average partner income was down about 13%, according to the Fin Review. Average partner income at PwC is now about $765,000. At EY, it's $814,000, $650,000 at KPMG, and around $470,000 at Deloitte. Last year's tax scandal at PwC involved a former partner sharing with other partners confidential details about federal tax changes designed to combat multinational tax avoidance. Those partners then used that information to win new clients.
Last one, story number 5, and this one is quite remarkable, Sean. US university rankings have been released, and given that that country houses the largest number of prestigious learning institutions, the list is considered a bit of a Bible and significantly a potential cash windfall for universities.
Yeah, so the US News and World Report puts Princeton at number 1, followed by MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Harvard, Stanford, Yale, and a bunch of others. What's more interesting is the economics behind what's going on. US News hasn't printed a magazine since 2010, but it just kept ranking the universities. Now, universities pay US News millions of dollars each year in licensing fees to promote how they fared, according to a report in the New York Times. New York News insists its business relationships with schools do not affect rankings, and its site attracts at least 100 million users a year. The first tab on their website is Best Colleges, so clearly the rankings are a big attraction. To students and their parents, the rankings can be tools for narrowing college searches. Certainly status symbols surrounding admissions to certain schools are made by these rankings, and they can ultimately be worth hundreds of millions of dollars to universities over the lifetime of students. Quite an amazing business model, though, that they don't print magazines, they just do rankings.
Yeah, indeed. There we go. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It is Wednesday, the 25th of September, 2024. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. And if 5 minutes isn't enough, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed, wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't forget, Wednesday means there is a new episode of our sister podcast, How Do They Afford That? Out today, all about making your money work a little bit harder for you. Today's episode is called Help, I'm an Overspender, and that probably tells you everything you need to know about it. I'll put a link in today's show notes. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.